Good morning. Our hand today is going to be 8-4, early position, 50 NL. Of course, we fold. We get a late position limper. We look at this player's hands. He's playing 34, definitely on the passive side. In the cutoff, he's played 31% of hand. Pre-flop raises 4, raise first in, 14%, 1 out of 7. He's done first in, 1 out of 7. This guy's just going to play hands. I think when we look at some of the hands that he plays, he's got a 3-bet range. He's got called 2-bet from blinds. He's got pairs in there. Limp and called the raise. We got queens, ace 2, queen jack, offsuit. So if we look at this, I put it something like this. Yeah, I included queens and jack. I assume he would raise first in with those hands. Perhaps if he's in early position, he limps. But it just doesn't. I've seen. It's hard to exclude queens, or to include queens in this case, in his limping range. So that's what I have. And then we have a raiser, a min raise, the small blind calls, and that limper calls. So we're going to go back to the limper. I think he's just going to maintain this range. Whatever he's going to play, I think he's going to maintain it. He's not going to fold anything. Pre-flop raiser, he's at 39.23. He didn't really raise big. It was just a min raise. And we don't really have a huge amount of information on him as far as like the hands that he showed down. We've got 100 hands, which is enough to kind of gauge how he plays. So his VPIP on the button's 43%. Raise first in's 33%. Pre-flop raise is 21, so 3 out of 14. He 3-bet once, and he did limp and call a raise. So limp on the button, and then called a blind or a raise from the blinds. So just looking to see what we know about his ranges, which we don't have notes. So I just went together like this, 28%. I mean, I think he's going to be loose. He's min raising. We could possibly eliminate some of the hands. So I kind of feel like some of these big hands would have raised more, at least those. So maybe we just scale him down to 50%. Say 50% chance that he would have raised bigger. With the min raise, makes it less likely that he has it. This next guy, I started with the same range, but we also see that he seems to be a passive player here. He does have 3 bets in his range. Yeah, 400 or so hands. When we look at his, small blind stat, 29%. He's looking fairly passive, and likes to call hands. Played 29%. We do have some notes on him of what he's called 2 bets from the blind range. We've got a lot of hands on those. So 9, 6s, 4s. So I'm assuming he'd probably 3-bet maybe with 10s plus. So here, 10s plus. Let's get this out of here. We've got suited. Let's see here. He calls with ace king suited. He also has a 3-bet with ace king suited. I think really the high pocket pairs is probably what he's going to be raising with. But let's look at the rest of these. It looks like we have suited kings since we have king 5, king 6. So we're going to include all the suited kings. If we have all the suited kings, we're going to include all of the suited aces. He's got queen 7, and then he's got queen 9 and queen 10 suited. Maybe we go down to queen 7 for his call. Maybe we don't. But we don't. You can see that we don't really have much worse. We've got 10-9, but we haven't seen any of the other smaller suited pairs or suited gappers. The offsuit hands are basically all Broadway with the exception of 4-3 off. That just seems like an abnormal, like an oddball. I'm not going to include it. So I did suited kings, suited aces. I did all of our Broadway, excluding what we were 3-betting. And then I did suited connectors, and I said suited connectors down to maybe 8-7. We don't have that queen 7. So in order to get queen 7, we're going to probably also have to include maybe queen 8, and probably those to get them there. And I just don't think I want to include them, but I do want to include the queen 9 and the jack 9 here. I think those are reasonable hands. So we've got 3 players, and we see a flop of ace queen 10. Pre-flop raises the button, it checks to him, no big surprise, and he checks. So I'm basically leaving 100% of everyone's range in there. You can see this guy doesn't donk at all, so he's got 100% of his range. But villain 4 checked. Pre-flop raiser had aggression. I think we're gonna scale these. I think a straight would have raised 100%. I think he would have raised here with the flush on the board. I guess the exception would be if he had the king jack of diamonds. With king jack of diamonds, maybe he'd check. I think a set would bet here too, and probably 2 pair. Would top pair bet? Yeah, probably. Let's see his c-bet. His c-bet stats. So we don't have a huge number, but it's 50% and 25%. So maybe his top pair, like ace king, ace jack, would be betting, but maybe not the rest of those. Oops. Let's get those out. So we'll say the weaker top pair. We're going to include all of the rest in his checking range. Flush draws. I don't think he's going to have all of his flush draws. Let's hear ace jack, I think. Well, I guess all of these aces, I think, would possibly bet, because he's got top pair and the flush draw. So I'm going to exclude all of those. And I think all the rest could possibly be in his range. Okay, that's good. So we're going to go with that. So this guy's range just kind of became quite weaker. So now that he checked, I think it's up to one of these players to go ahead and lead. Especially if there's a diamond draw out there, or if they have flush draw. So the 5 diamonds, that changes things a bit. It's going to be harder for both of these players to take initiative without a diamond. Let's see what happens. Villain 6 checks, villain 3 bets 5. So this guy checks. I think the flush is probably going to be checking, and I think probably everything here is going to be checking. This guy bets though, and it's a pot of 7. He bets 5. At that point, would he bet a flush draw? Yeah, he would. Would it, that sizing, be with it with a nut flush? Yeah, possibly. So I think the flush is definitely going to bet. I think the straight, we're going to scale that to maybe like 50%. Sometimes he's going to bet, sometimes he's going to check, just because, again, the flush is out there. Sometimes the straights are going to freeze. Same thing, I think, with the sets. I think the sets, we're going to move that down to 33%. So a third of the time he would bet here. The rest he's just going to check. And probably 2 pair as well. We'll do that like 33%. So there's a possibility he has it, but pretty low. I don't think the ace bets here. I really don't. Not with the kickers. I think he's just gonna check. What about the nut flush draw? Nut flush draw, maybe. He is a passive player, but and I think that's why I'm gonna say no. He probably isn't gonna be betting here with a draw. So he bets 5, fairly large. Villain 4 folds. So it's you can see he's heavy on all of the weak ranges. And then we get a call here. So he had the opportunity to bet. He did not. He checked and then he called. So let's see what kind of notes we have on here. Limp first in, mid position with king jack off. Yeah, okay. So just kind of quick on that. He did a check call. It's possible that it's definitely doing it with the flush. We're gonna say there is a chance, we'll say 50% chance, that he just check called with his nut flush. Just kind of still playing it, waiting for the river. I think a straight's going to call, set's going to call, two pairs are going to call, and this guy's probably going to be a top pair as well. Probably calling once. I think the second nut flush is possibly calling, and second and the nut flush is possibly calling with the lone diamond, especially if you have like some other pair to go with it. So like ace queen, ace 10, the nut flush, ace jack, you have your a king draw. So I'm okay with keeping all of these in here. The third nut, however, probably doesn't call. I mean, maybe that's also one that's possibly we'll do like a 33% chance that maybe he calls those, but I think that's probably it. So we've narrowed both players' range down. The queen comes out. Villain 5 checks. I think villain 5 checking. I think a full house leads here, so I'm gonna get rid of that. And I do kind of think the nut flush leads here as well, so I think I'm gonna exclude that. I think all the rest of the hands could be in his range. We don't know if he's gonna bluff at all, if he has a bluffing range. So I'm gonna exclude those hands that I thought he was gonna bet, and then villain decides to check, so that I think excludes a full house. And I think that excludes the nut flush draw, possibly quite a few of those king flush, the second nut flushes. So we could just do 50% and say I think he would have bet those. So I think those are going to be the final ranges. So let's see what the showdown is. Jack 10. So he did call with the third flush. He did call with his third flush, Jack 10. Let's make sure. Yeah, we did. We said 33% chance that he could do that, and he did call it. So that's in his range. And then villain shows ace 2, which was the top pair. So ace 2 spades, we do not have that one in the range. And I think it was ultimately the top pair here where he bet. I didn't really think he would be betting those top pairs, but yeah, I guess he was wrong. Well, I guess I know I was wrong on that. So we now have a hand to add to this player. So LFI and cutoff and call, min raise and call, button, min raise with ace 2 spades. It is MP 3-way, and he checked, bet 5/7, which is more than 75%. We'll just call it 80%. That's 10/14. Don't know that percentage offhand. Maybe we'll just say bet 75% and then checked on ace of hearts, queen of diamonds, 10 of diamonds, 5 of diamonds, queen of spades. All right, so we've got him. This guy already has some notes, so we're gonna add some more. So this is a small blind. Call, button, 2 BB, min raise. ISO raise. I guess we'll do this. Call button to big blind, ISO raise in small blind with jack of diamonds, 10 of hearts. So he played, jack 10 offsuit. He is out of position 3-way. So he checked, check, call. We said 75%, and check on an ace of hearts, queen of diamonds, 10 of diamonds, 5 of diamonds, and queen of spades. We're going to change this guy. We said min raise, button, min, ISO. There. All right. So we've got the hands. What do we think of the hands? I don't really like this guy's call. You figure you're gonna be out of position in a 3-way pot. Live game, maybe you play that. Online, I think this is too loose. He won it, but I think it's actually he didn't win this hand. But had he won it, you would start thinking, well, maybe that's what we have to do. That's how we play it. I don't think that's true. I think it's probably better just to go ahead and fold that hand, even though it is just 2 big blinds to you to call. I know you're getting great prices, but that price probably doesn't offset the difficulty of playing out of position. This guy limps. Limp calls with ace-2. I think it would be much better played if he raised it himself. He is a passive player, so this is just a guy that should be very easy to play against. Let's see. I think I could give him color. Probably green. Let him know he's a good player to go up against, a weak player. I think this guy's also probably looking like a green at this point. This guy seems to be loose aggressive. But yeah, I think this guy should have raised pre-flop. Now he didn't. So do I mind their checks? No, not really. I don't mind the checks at all. I don't necessarily mind this guy's call on the turn either when he check called it. Possibly he could have check raised it and really been aggressive if you think he is taking it a little bit too much. So here's our turn range. We kind of said flush straight. If we narrow that, that's 35%. If you get a check raise, what hands is he going to fold? So we included all of those in his bet. Let's say we'll add all of his aces, and if we check raise, maybe the 2 pair also folds. We'll say that. I think the flush draws are probably just going to be calling. So it's getting close to where maybe there's going to be a 50% chance that he folds. So check raising with the 3rd pair and the diamond draw. So that's a 3rd nut flush draw and a straight draw. Gut shot. That's an aggressive play. I think you have to know your player to say, yeah, I think once you show aggression, he's going to be super tight. This player is a loose passive, so I'm not sure if a check raise would necessarily be the greatest. Check. So I think folding's probably the worst play to do on the turn, and that kind of leaves calling or raising. And with raising, I think you're just kind of building up a pot against a potentially strong hand here. We raise. I think the nut flush here is going to be betting. I think he's going to be coming over the top, and then that kind of tells us to fold. I think the king high, the 2nd nut, just calls. The straight could possibly even call. It's a good question. If we think the player though is just a calling station, then yeah, we don't ever make that check raise. Not with the draw. He does fold to c-bet about 50%. So he can find some folds. What about the river? Once he bet and he calls on the river, I don't see a point in him betting. I think he's probably just going to be getting called by slightly better hands. So once we add the queen of spades, we look at what he has. He's going to be strong with the flush and straight, and he's got some top pair. So if you bet, you just kind of assume he's going to be calling with better. So this you're basically turning your aces into a bluff. You do have a little bit of showdown value here against missed draws. So just like a hand like Jack 10, I mean, you do have some showdown value. Oh, we did isolate that, so there. Oops, that's the wrong. This is the guy. This is the guy. Yeah, so you've got your weak pair, hands. You've got some showdown value against them, and that's about it. You're probably, with your ace kicker, you're probably gonna lose. So maybe it is. Maybe when we think about the hands that we bet and the hands that we check, we're betting our strong hands here. Our flushes, so we're going to have to balance it with bluffs. So perhaps we are going to be turning in our top pair type hands into bluffs. So yeah, we turn our top pair that he is going to be betting all of those, and then the queen of spades comes out. Yeah, you're turning all of those ace 2, ace 3, ace 4, ace 5s into our bluff. That should be balancing by like our strong flush hands. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed the hand. Hopefully we'll work through it. This was, limp call, min raise, always different, always a range of hands. But I think a lot of these hands, you kind of think about it. These are kind of hands that you might see in the live game. I did get to play this weekend at a casino, and you do see these plays a lot. Players calling down with second or third pair. They're there. So hopefully you enjoy this. If you do, you can look tomorrow. I should have another one.